Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Clues, Cues and Reviews, and it's the third one of the day. It's Fairy Tale 497, The Winter Mage, Invel. So this chapter will be reviewed in the sense of a 5-point review. For those who aren't familiar with this, I have done this before. I'm getting back to it now because I feel it helps break down the chapter a little bit. Few things to bear in mind. This is not a top 5. This isn't my top 5 moments or the top 5 moments because that's subjective and can be very biased. Also, this isn't in any particular order. It just breaks down based on how the points come about in the chapter, and it's purely my own opinion. And I'm sure you may have some different thoughts on that. Of course, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe and get involved in the conversation. Thumbs up if you enjoy the video, and also get commenting. Let me know what you think of these 5 points. The theory I'm going to leave at the end, that's point number 5. And also, just give your thoughts on what my breakdown is and what you thought about it. So, let's get on to the review. So, point number 1. It can be frustrating to some this point because it isn't always the most clear. But Zeref still has feelings for Mavis. This is evident in this chapter because he does not want her to suffer. Now, people will be frustrated with this because there's been times where he's been very, oh, I love you, and then I hate you, I'm heartless, I will kill everybody. And he's always backwards and back and forth in between that. But even though he's killing his desires and his likes and his wants, from a good side, he can still see it's there. So he does have some good to it. It's also important to bear in mind that Eileen keeps pushing him to the dark side, saying to kill his emotion is if he wants to kill Acnologia. That's an important point as a theme for this chapter today, so bear that in mind. So, point number 1, there's still some good in Zeref, and he has still feelings for Mavis. Point number 2, Eileen is one ruthless SOB. Why? Because she wants Erza dead. She didn't ask, she didn't say anything about her, she just wants her dead. All she said was, you were alive after all, and then she just wants her dead. NeinHart obviously breaks the news. NeinHart's like, but her magic doesn't work on, my magic doesn't work on her, how can I kill her? He goes, you fight her yourself. Remember, and then he gets hypnotized. So there's definitely a link there with Erza. I'm going to talk about that in point 5 of the possibilities, but don't you think it's crazy how NeinHart eyes has changed? Is this a hypnotism? Is this a type of magic? Was there a seal on NeinHart? Because he wasn't as impressive. Potentially there's a darker side to him with those eyes changing. Maybe there was a seal that was released that shows more of his kind of a darker side, more powerful side. We will have to wait and see, because that's going to happen. Erza is going to fight against NeinHart, which ultimately leads me to believe that at some point Gildarts is going to have to fight someone as well. But that's for a different point, for a different day. Let's move on to point number 3. So, point number 3. The generalization of what's going on right now. So, Erza and Gildarts are pretty much rocking up the wins, destroying fodder, pretty much. And we still see the setup fighting going on between the remaining of the losers. We don't really see much of Bradman specifically. We see a little bit of him. But we see a Jill versus Lasana and Elfman, Jacob versus Mirani, that's still ongoing, and Wal versus Minerva. It's important to bear in mind that this is probably a good matchup for them. You got to understand that they're in a weaker position now, so that it's a more of a level playing field. Whereas before it was, they were very OP and they were looking to kind of win by the skin of the teeth a lot of the stronger Fairy Tale members. So for them to be fighting these members of Fairy Tale, or just the good guys, so to speak, I think it's more of a fair thing now. So it should work out to be some good fights. And then I'm sure Erza at some point will run into NeinHart, as mentioned previously, and Gildarts will get a better fight. More than likely it's going to be, I'm guessing it's going to be, as a lot of people have called this, the other Dragneel. Rahid Dragneel is probably going to have to fight Gildarts, I'm assuming here. So that's point number 3. Point number 4, really emphasize the power of Invel. So Team Natsu versus Invel. Effectively, Team Natsu are kind of just going through doing the thing. Natsu's fire gets frozen. He immediately thinks it's grey because he think they're messing about, but it's not. So Natsu pulls out a decent fire move. He goes burn, and the whole area starts burning ablaze, but it still gets frozen, which sets up effectively Grey versus Invel, because everyone else is frozen but Grey isn't winning this easily. You got to bear in mind he's struggling already. This is important because I think Invel's getting built up to be like the Ice Master, even stronger than his previous master Ul. So I think that's important because for him to be the upper echelon, the master of his own element, he has to beat the master of the element. And I think at this moment in time, it is Invel. So this is a good chance for him to test his grit, for him to have a power up of some kind, find some type of new magic, and hopefully be a master of ice. And it's important because this is the key element in this war, because if he beats Invel, the magic that is put on Mavis that freezes her mind and her thoughts will also be subdued and taken off. So this is important for the progression of the story, so this has to happen, and I need Grey to win very quickly because Mavis is getting tortured right about now. But yeah, that's point number 4, which leads me on to point number 5, a quick theory. Now, the theory is to do with Erza and Eileen. So let's just say there's a few different theories out there. Let's get them out there. First of all, people think Eileen is Erza's mother. So it's possible, but she isn't very a nice mother if she wants her dead. So that's the one thing to bear in mind. Plus, she doesn't seem that old. However, there can be magic involved with that makes her younger. But that is a possibility. The next thing is they're sisters or they're twins. This is a possibility, maybe they were separated at birth. Bearing in mind Erza didn't really know her parents. So it could be an interesting fact that could be the direction they're going in. Now, for me personally, this third one is probably what's going to happen. So I think Erza and Eileen are one and the same person. So what I mean by that is, we've been told in previous chapter, I believe it was last chapter or the chapter before, I believe it was last, where we were told that Eileen is a master or a specialist in separating. So separating, one into two things. Now, I think that was the key message that we were told last time, because I think that is the truth behind it. Remember in this chapter I talked about how Eileen told Zareth to kill his emotions, kill that softer side to him. I think basically Eileen separating herself from Erza was the potential separating of the softer side of Eileen, and basically I'm guessing that with her getting killed, Erza potentially getting killed, that would kill the emotions of Eileen and making her completely ruthless. But if this is the case, this also does a brilliant thing of setup. Remember how Erza is meant to be this badass, but she has her limits, and it's kind of like the Nakama power up that she's always got. Potentially, if that fight happens and Erza wins and their bodies combine again and Erza is the dominant force, can you imagine how powerful Erza would be if them two combined and fused? Just imagine. Exactly, right? Power, intimidation, a wealth of knowledge, and the ability to really pretty much destroy a lot of people in Alvarez, and then potentially have the power to deal with Acnologia as well. Everyone else has been getting power-ups. This would be a perfect way to power up Erza. What are your thoughts? You let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the theory, if you liked the review, give me a thumbs up. And as always, if you haven't, please subscribe. I greatly appreciate that, and I'll see you next time. Peace.